Ladies and gentlemen, Happy New Year. It is currently January 2nd, so I hope that everybody spent their New Year's well, had a good time, and spent it with the people that matter. And I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about that, but what do you rate New Year's this year?
Nah, I gotta be honest. You asked me this about Christmas, but I think New Year's is a little bit overrated. If I'm being
Interesting.
honest, it was when I was working actually on New Year's Eve, and this guy comes in the drive-thru, and I was telling everybody, I was like, "Hey man, have a happy New Year." And this one guy comes through, and I always see this guy, and we always chat, and he's just a regular customer. And I asked him, I was like, "Hey man, are you excited for New Year's?" And he's like, "Nah man, it's just same old, same old. You know, next year I'm going back to work and doing the same thing I did yesterday." And I was like, everybody values New Year's as if it's this really heavy thing. But in reality, the next year, man, a lot of us do the same thing that we did last year. And I think that it shouldn't be like that statement shouldn't be demotivating. As in, a lot of people, big topic is New Year's resolutions. Everybody has them. I think it's kind of gone downhill as of late. A lot less people have New Year's resolutions than there used to be because people start to see the inefficacy of them. But I'd say that's not me saying, hey, you know what, don't have a New Year's resolution, don't have any goals to move forward to. But is the new year really that much different from the last one?
Okay, we'll get into that, but
Mm.
it was funny because I saw a meme. You know the animation of Toothless dancing? You haven't seen that. It's like the
Oh, and
drawing
then
animation.
wait, what?
Yeah, and then they played the like music from that certain Pokemon
No idea what you're talking
city.
about, man.
Dude. Well, anyways, the meme was humans when the Earth rotates around the sun successfully another time, and then it's just a dancing dragon. Okay, but anyways, I think that it can be an interesting fresh start, rather. That's why people value it, because it is something new. And I think that people do value a clean slate.
Mm.
That's why everybody says new year, new me, which I think is kind of stupid, but we'll get into that a little bit later. But there is a story that I wanted to tell you, which I've already told you, but the people watching haven't heard this story. So over the weekend on New Year's Eve, I went out and met some new friends and had a good time. But I had some longer conversations with some of them. And one of them, shout out to my boy Christian. I don't think you'll ever see this, but shout out Christian. And I met this guy and I talked to him mainly because he had a watch on his wrist. And I didn't see a single other person at the party with a watch. And so I went up and I asked him, hey, what kind of watch is that? And he showed me, and it was an Omega, right? An old Omega Seamaster. And I thought, wow, that's really nice. What, this guy must do something good for a living. He said, no, no, no. My grandfather gave it to me. And I said, oh, okay. And he said, yeah, my grandfather originally gave it to my great grandfather, but he passed away a few years ago, so he gave it to me. Then I said, wait, but does that mean that your grandfather gave it to your dad first? And he said, no, no, no. My dad also passed away 2 years ago. And that shocked me because, first of all, his grandfather was alive, but his father was not. And he told me that his father was a very active guy. He was only 56. He ran every day. He was physically fit. He did all the things that a healthy person would do. And yet one day he said, hey, I'm going down for my daily run on the treadmill. And then an hour later, they went down and they found him collapsed from a heart attack. And now that might be a bit of a dark story to start the episode with. But the reason why I bring that story up is there are many stories of people who lose their loved ones in tragic incidents, things that don't make any sense, right? If he was only 56 and Christian's grandfather is still alive, how did his father pass away, right? And he was physically fit too, and it was from a heart attack. So you never really know when you're going to lose the person that really matters to you. So on these holidays, everyone says, bro, forget partying, forget going out and doing all these things with other people. Just focus on working. I believe there is some truth to that. I believe that you shouldn't be consistently going out and partying every day. But to go out and spend some time with your family, especially on New Year's or Christmas or whatever it is, I think that's a blessing because at the end of the day, you don't know when they're not going to be here anymore.
See, the thing is, I agree with you. But when people say don't party, what they mean, I'd say on the most part is don't go to some random rager where you're just slamming beers and playing alcohol or drinking games, and then you don't remember what happened last night. I think that having dinner with the people that you love, that isn't considered partying.
Okay, yeah, I guess I should rephrase that. Fine. Don't avoid every opportunity to have fun just because some goon on the internet said you need to be grinding right now. Okay?
I'd say that a lot of people need to, again, it's something that we talk about very consistently, is find your own path, what works for you, where you want to go. Based on that, decide what steps you want to take.
True.
Because, again, don't get caught up living other people's lives.
Mm.
Don't try to follow somebody else's dream. Chase your own. Because you have a unique gift. There's nobody else out in this world that is like you. That's the reality of it. Even two identical twins don't think the same.
True. True.
Everybody has their own gifts, their own thoughts, their own mind. So, if by trying to live somebody else's life, you're letting the whole world short.
Well, I agree that you need to find your own path and do these things, but you know what is consistent for everybody? Time. Time moves at the same rate. All right? Doesn't matter whether you have $1 billion or zero right now.
Well, scientifically,
Don't talk
time
about
doesn't-
space travel,
okay.
okay? That is
no. Well, yes.
Yes,
but
moving at a high speed.
That's
That's
not
what
what I
we're
meant.
talking about.
But have you not seen the thing where it's like if you have two watches that are perfect time, then I guess actually someone disproved this, which really made sense to me. But like how if you have a baby and like the second that they're born, you strap a watch on them and you do the same thing with the mother. As time progresses, the time on the watch will read different times because the baby and the mother experience time differently.
What?
Yeah, it's like a scientific thing. You guys can Google it.
There's no
I
way.
swear
That's
I'm
not.
not.
There's no way that's
Somebody
true.
talked about it on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like, I remember them talking about it.
So
It's
just because Joe Rogan's podcast said it, it's true?
probably, let's be real.
Okay, maybe.
But-
There's no way. Okay,
Yeah, it's
whatever.
sort of
Forget that. That's a
be real,
tangent,
yeah.
okay? More importantly, for the most part, time is consistent with everyone, right? But what's not consistent is how long you have. How much time do you have, and how much time do the people around you have? You don't know that. You don't know when they're going to die, right? Imagine if your dad says, hey, I'm going down for a run, and then you never see him again, right? And the thing is, he spoke with such a calm manner and a smile on his face the whole time that it was so, like, it was crushing for me hearing him say, yeah, my father passed away a few years ago. I was like, dude, if your grandfather is alive and your father isn't, that would have crushed me. I would have been genuinely, like, really upset about that. And I'm sure it took a lot for him to get over it. But I'm sure that based on his own experiences, he definitely spent enough time with his father that I hope that he feels fulfilled now.
I want to correct your language. I don't think it's get over it. I think it's accept it. Because that's the hardest thing in life is
Very
to
true.
accept the things that have happened.
Yeah,
I mean, it goes back to, the 7 stages of grief and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What's the last stage? Is acceptance.
acceptance.
That's how you really deal with your problems.
True.
And that's the thing that a lot of people struggle with is accepting that, man, I have a problem. And it's actually, if you've listened to Juice WRLD's, well, I want to say newest, it's not a latest album, I guess, even though it's been a couple of years of Fighting Demons, his like album, there's a section or a song on it, I guess, or a skit on it. Actually, it's not a skit either. It's just Eminem speaks.
Oh,
And
yeah.
if you listen to it, he talks about it. And one thing he says is a lot of people, when taking drugs, they struggle with the issue of, do I have a problem or do I not have a problem? Can I stop or can't I? And the problem is that most people nowadays don't have the ability, or they don't want to. They refuse to accept, dude, I have a problem.
Mm.
But then when New Year's comes around, they're like, you know what? It's time for me to, clean everything off and move on. But the reason why so many people go back into their bad habits is because they never accepted that this is really wrong, that I need to be taking the steps. Because they didn't look back at the problem. What they did was look forward at the solution.
Hmm.
But they never took the time to understand, hey, I've got a problem. How am I going to fix it?
That's a very good way of thinking about
Mm.
it. And I think that New Year's is important because to a lot of people that give up, right, throughout the year, maybe you had a tough year. Maybe you lost your job. Maybe your girlfriend broke up with you. Maybe you lost your father. whatever it is you're going through, a new year signifies, hey, the slate is clean. It's my chance to do something good now. But like you said, you need to be able to acknowledge the faults of the past, accept that you were wrong, accept that there are some things you need to improve on, and then find the solution for those. And that's why I don't like the saying, new year, new me. Because no, it's not a new you. It is you. It's just you. But you get to change things. You get to become a better version of yourself. It doesn't mean a new version of
You
yourself.
improve upon what was already there.
Exactly. New seems to signify that you're starting from the bottom again, that it's a brand new slate. There's no markings on it at all. I don't think that's true. What I like to signify a new year as turning the page in your journal of life, right? Everything you wrote in the previous pages is still there, but you're just not looking at it right now. But you can always go back and look at it. You can go back and look at the mistakes you made last year and the year before that. And more importantly, how are you going to change that going forward? How are you going to change that on this new page that you're writing right now? Because if you say new year, new me, you're neglecting all the previous pages. You're saying, hey, forget those pages. Let's start on this new one. Well, that doesn't work because now you're not improving on what was written on the previous pages.
And one thing I'd say, this is something that my hockey coaches used to tell me. And it's that, and also even my dad, shout out to my father, who's a big role model in my life. But a lot of big people in my life, they used to always tell me is, it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make. You can make as many mistakes as you want. But when you start making the same mistakes, that's when the problem arises. Because making one mistake is learning, but making the same mistake is failure.
Damn, that's a really good saying.
And I think that you can't make the same mistakes. And when you choose to neglect that entire half of that book that you've written, you're neglecting all those life lessons that were there. You can't throw that away. You need to remember that, hey, I did this wrong. That's the truth. I accept that. I made this mistake. Now, how am I going to change that moving forward?
You know something crazy? You want to know what that reminded me of?
What?
Mr. Beast. In an interview, somebody asked Mr. Beast, hey, would you have been better off doing this journey on your own? And Mr. Beast said something along the lines of, I could have done it on my own, but it was better with my friends. But one of the things he said was, in college, it was him and a bunch of friends making content. And what he said was, if you did it with several people, you don't just learn from your own mistakes, you learn from their mistakes too. So now you're able to look at the other people's books, look at their pages, see what mistakes they made, right? So considering that your life is a journal, that's a very powerful analogy because now you have a recollection, a record of what you've done so far. And you can look at the records of other people if you're close with them, right? You can see what mistakes they made and improve on those going forward. That's why it's important to discard the idea of new year, new me. And honestly, I think that anybody who says new year, new me, half the time, they're very unserious about their goals and don't do anything after the first 2 weeks.
Yeah. And something that I really love is about you have people around you to look of how can I, but what mistakes did they make that I don't want to make?
Yeah.
And one big group of people that a lot of, I'd say, younger people nowadays tend to forget is their parents. Your parents have lived a life. You think that a lot of kids go, my parents don't understand me. Like, sure, they're not going to live the exact same life as you, but your parents have lived a hell of a lot longer than you have.
Very true.
And people underestimate life experience. Like, for example, if you take majority, I'd say, in more of like Asian or like Asia as an area, there's a very common theme of respect your elders, right? And I'm not saying that doesn't exist in the West. I'm saying that it's more common in, like, for example, it's shamed upon to like disrespect an elder here, but it's like necessary that you respect your elders over there.
Yeah, because the consequences are much steeper.
Exactly. So with that, what they say is life experience is the most important thing. The oldest people in our civilization are the wisest, or I'd say in our society. They're the wisest people because they've lived the most. They've seen the most. They've experienced it. And I'd say you can read in a book as much as you want, but if you've never experienced it, then you don't know the half of it.
I was literally about to say that because it's one thing to read about it. It's another thing to live it. Living is the most, I'd say, the greatest teacher. And you know the difference between life and school, right? They always say that school, you study for the test and then you get the test. But in life, you get the test and then you study your results after,
I
right?
know. I love that.
That saying is very powerful, and I think it's true. At the end of the day, as you live your many years of life, you learn things and you experience things. So the question is, are you going to continue making the same mistakes, or are you going to follow the new lessons you're learning from that mistake? Like you said, if you make a mistake repeatedly, it's no longer a mistake. That's a choice. You making
Yeah.
the same mistake over and over again, like running back to an ex that did you wrong, that's your fault. You're clearly making a choice to do that. That's not a mistake. Or picking up alcohol, picking up drugs, or not going to the gym. Any of these things that you thought were a mistake before, if you're doing them more than once, it's not a mistake anymore. It's a choice. So the question is, are you going to make the right choices now, or are you going to continue to make the wrong ones? So start the new year by taking accountability, right? I think that's step number one. If you don't take accountability for your actions, you're not going to go anywhere, because at the end of the day, you're saying it's not my fault. It's not my fault that I'm here.
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. And then you come up with all these excuses. But if you claim, hey, 2023, maybe it wasn't my year, but it's because of me that it wasn't my year. These are the mistakes I made. This is what I'm going to improve on. You could do that not just for a year. You could do that for a month, a week, even a day. Self-reflection, okay? Look at what you did and see what you can do going forward, right? That's why people think the new year is so powerful. But it's only powerful if you understand why. Why am I changing things?
And I think that one thing that people seem to neglect is, a lot of people, why do you wait until the new year to change? I think it's because, first off, it does give you the realization of, man, I should reflect on my life. Because I think at the end of the year, yeah, everybody posts their recaps of, this is how my year was like, this is all the stuff that happened this year. So it gives you a reason to reflect. So now you do look back and you see it. You look over your entire life, and you're not going to see just the good things. You see a hell of a lot of the bad stuff that happened that year, and you're like, damn, I really wish I hadn't done that. I wish I had improved. But now when the new year comes, you realize those mistakes, you see them, and then you want to change. Now imagine if you did that, let's say every month. If every month at the end you look back and you reflect. The same thing is what you do is every single day you do that.
Yeah.
You reflect every single day, you write in your journal. I should probably start doing this, and I'd urge everybody out there to do the same, is reflect. Because we've said it before, self-reflection is the greatest tool for self-improvement. If you take the time to look back, it's far easier to see where you want to go in the future.
That's very true. Very true. And another thing that I was just thinking about is when you said posting recaps, a lot of people, when they post their recaps, will say, oh, I traveled to these places, I went to these parties, blah, 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 did these things. I looked at my Snapchat recap of the year. Every month, it had a few snaps from it. Every single month was just a pump video. Like, it was just me progressively gaining more and more muscle mass, because I spend every day in the gym, right? And every day I'll take a video and see how I'm looking. And that was my recap. It was just all just gym stuff, right? So at the end of the year, I can look back and say, one thing I stayed consistent with was the gym. I love the gym. It's part of me now, right? It's a lifestyle. And that's what I think, that's something that you can improve in the new year, is instead of making it just a goal or a chore, rather, that you have to do, like, oh man, I have to go to the gym today. Start enjoying that. Start enjoying going out there and working on yourself, because at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to do that forever, right? And there's that clip of, oh man, I even looked up his name. I forgot. Okay, but yeah, guy from Fast and Furious. Remember we were talking about him in one of the previous episodes? Not Ludacris, but the other black guy.
Oh, well, I know his character name is Roman Pierce, but
okay, yes, but I forgot his actor name. I literally looked it up too so that I would remember. But that was like 2 weeks ago, so I don't really blame myself.
Yeah,
but anyways, in that video where he's talking about focusing on yourself.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, now I'm forgetting what I was about to say. No. Okay, whatever. Anyways, that's tragic. I had such a good analogy there, and now I lost it. Whatever. But in that video, one of the biggest things he talks about is really zoning in on your goals, right? And ask yourself why, okay? And you know that other, I don't know his name, but the white guy who made that video on the mountain, remember?
Oh, Luke Belmar?
Yeah, that guy. Really like his content. He's really cool. And one of the videos I saw recently was, why are you making that face?
I think some of the content he makes is
okay.
good,
We'll get into your dispute about it after.
sure.
But I saw a video yesterday where he said you need to ask yourself why. And he was talking about in reference to the gym and doing things that improve your life. Why don't you enjoy doing them? So ask yourself, first of all, why do you think you should be doing them? Well, going to the gym helps you get physically fit. You look better, you feel better, your life just gets better from going. So now the question is, why don't you enjoy going? Maybe it's social anxiety. Maybe it's you don't have the dedication or the commitment to go. And then solve that problem from there. So in the new year, don't just say, hey, I'm going to go to the gym. That's my New Year's resolution. Okay? Forget that. That's your life resolution. That's your goal for this lifetime is to stay fit. Don't say it's my 2024 goal to get in shape. No, it is your lifelong goal to stay in shape, not just get in shape this year. No, this is something that has to become a part of you for the rest of your life. Not all goals have to be like that. Let's say you want to buy a Lamborghini, right? That can be something you buy once this year. But something like the gym, a significant lifestyle change, that's part of you forever. So don't brand it as a New Year's resolution. Make it your goal and make sure that moving forward, it becomes part of who you are.
And I think one thing that people need to understand is it's not going to be, I'm going to quit drinking right now. Like, for example, if you've been a raging alcoholic and you're just going to say, hey, you know what, this year, I'm going to drop the beer. We're not drinking anymore. Is that really realistic? Or, for example, a guy that's never gone to the gym, you think, you know what, this year, I'm going to go to the gym 3 hours a day. No, you're not. You're going to go for 1 week and then boom, it's done again. You don't want to drink this year, you're going to not drink for 1 week. And then you're going to be like, damn, I really crave it again. The question is, how do you take the tiny steps towards it? How do you take a step towards it? It's better to take 100 small steps to get to your goal than to take one leap of faith and miss.
Yeah, that's very true.
People think you need to throw yourself into the deep end, but sometimes you have to take the little steps. I don't say barely move at all. I'd say try your best to take as big a steps as possible, but don't overwhelm yourself and understand that, hey, moving forward is better than not moving at all. And a lot of people get caught up with that, is that they choose to not move forward because they're like, you know what? Going for a 5-minute walk today isn't going to get me a 6-pack, so I'm not going to do it. Why is that the goal? Why is the goal to be shredded at the end of the day? The goal should be to be shredded at the end of the year, at the end of your life, at whatever time. But stop being so short-lived. Is understand that, hey, I've got time to finish my goal. I'm going to set that goal, and regardless of how I feel every single day, I'm going to take a step. Take a moment to just move forward with your goals.
Very true. Very true. And I think that that's going to be one of the biggest points for this episode is a New Year's resolution is garbage. But a goal, just brand it as a goal, a life goal, okay? And make it happen. Take a small step towards it, whether it's going to the gym once a week or, not drinking 4 days a week, right? Cut down on the bad habits, start building up the good ones, and make 2024 your year. That is my saying for all you guys out there. So start small and keep building it up. But we were talking earlier about how a New Year's is kind of like a cleaning of the slate, right? But at the same time, you still have your previous pages. Let's flip it and look at it from the other perspective about why people like cleaning the slate so much. It's a way to forget all the bad things they've done. And I think that can be a good thing because if you only define yourself by the things that you messed up on, it becomes difficult to succeed.
Because you have this negative self-image of yourself.
Exactly. So a new year can allow you to cleanse that negative self-image you have. And it allows you to create a new one, a positive one, a better one than last year. Greatest example of this, Prince Zuko.
I was going to say it too.
Wow, I'm surprised you knew.
No, because I was going to talk about it on this episode as well.
That's crazy. Yeah. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, look at him. He started off as the prince of a dictator nation. But then what? He loses his way along the journey. He gets banished. And now he has no idea what his purpose in life is. He chases the Avatar over many seasons, many episodes, many trials and tribulations. And then at the end of it, he realizes, hey, I can become someone new. I can become someone better. And that's what he does.
You know what's so beautiful about this?
Mhm.
Because again, this comes back to the magnificent writing of Avatar. Or maybe I'm like one of those English teachers that's overlooking in every little detail. But it's the fact that Zuko will always have a scar. It's something that he says is that this scar is like a mark of the person that I used to be. In the same way, those marks that are on your life about the mistakes that you made, about the person who you used to be, is still there, but those don't define you.
Damn.
That's the most important thing. Because Zuko, when he stopped letting that mark, that scar, that blemish in his past define him, that's when he really started to move forward and take control of his life.
That's when he helps the gang.
Exactly.
And that's when he defeats his father. That's when he makes his life better and realizes his true purpose.
And he says it. He literally said it's like when he's talking with Ozai on the eclipse. He goes in there the day he decides that, hey, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go and I'm gonna help Aang defeat you. He says that he's done like living for his father's recognition because he doesn't want that anymore. And that's so deep because he's moved on to realize that, hey, who I used to be is not who I really am. And most people, they get that insight on the New Year's. They believe that this is cleaning the slate. But the truth is, you can take control of your life whenever. You don't need to wait. Like, suppose that you realize this in November. Do you want to, like, you'll say, you know what? Just until New Year's, I'll do it. Or this is one thing that I hear a lot of people say is, I'll start on Monday. Next week, I'll start it. You know, I'm going to party this weekend, and then I'm going to stop on Monday. Why didn't you stop today? You could have made that choice. But instead, you're choosing to delay it because you think you want to keep enjoying it. You want to keep doing the thing that you don't want to do. You want to keep doing it so you can keep pushing it back. And you'll continue to make excuses for yourself to do the things that you shouldn't be doing.
Damn, that's actually very powerful. And you know something interesting I thought about? First of all, I find it interesting that society has created this idea that quitting something like an addiction, cold turkey, is impossible. I believe that it is very difficult, and I certainly agree that there are certain health risks that come with quitting something cold turkey, like the whole withdrawal symptoms and all that. So again, I'm not telling you to drop whatever crippling addiction you have immediately and get yourself in medical trouble, but don't believe that it's impossible either. Because one thing that stops people from quitting certain bad habits is, just like you said, I'll stop after this. I'll stop after this condition is met. And that condition is often when I run out of whatever it is, whether it's a certain drug or nicotine or alcohol. When you run out, that's when you say, okay, I'll stop. But then what happens? A week or two goes by, you just replenish your stock. I think the greatest thing you can do to break a bad habit like that is to cut it off when you still have some left. Because it's painful to lose the money that you put into that. So when you feel that pain, now you realize, hey, I'm done. That's it. It's over. So starting now, act with a sense of urgency. This year, when something comes to your mind saying, hey, I should do this, your first thought shouldn't be, when can I do it next week? Can I do it tomorrow?
Can I do it right now?
Do it now. Do it now. I want your number one phrase for 2024 to be, do it now. Because you don't know anything about the future. Okay? The future isn't real. Think about it. It's not real. You don't know if it's guaranteed. You could literally die right now. I could die right now. Okay? So the future isn't promised. So whatever you want to do it now.
It's interesting because I'd say a lot of people, you have that like moment of, I should probably do this. And then one thing that I'd say to people, it's actually something I heard in a Prince EA video. And for those of you who have never heard of Prince EA, you're living under a rock. Great motivational speaker, a lot of his old videos. He went on a cleanse and came back recently. And he's a lot of great motivational like topics. He speaks a lot. And one thing he said is it's a rule where whenever you want to do something, don't think about it, just do it. Count down from 5 and go. For example, it's something that people do when they go skydiving, is they'll be in the plane and they'll just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, boom, and just jump. Because they don't give themselves the time to think, what else can I do?
They don't give themselves time to doubt.
Yeah, or to create excuses.
Yeah.
For example, let's say I want to clean my room. And instead, I sit down and I think, man, you know what? Actually, I'm kind of hungry right now. I'm gonna go eat. And then after I eat, I'll clean my room. It's like, man, you know what? My friends are playing video games right now. Let me hop on, play with them a little bit. And then after that, I'll clean my room. And then, oh man, it's 9 o'clock. I should probably just get into bed and
Do it.
get to
tomorrow.
sleep. And you know what? I'll do it tomorrow. The biggest killer phrase of every dream ever was, I'll do it tomorrow.
Yep. I could not have said it better. I'll do it tomorrow. Killed half the entrepreneurs that could have possibly existed. Maybe even more.
I wouldn't even just say entrepreneur. I'd say
People.
people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think of the quote right now. It's a really brilliant one. And it's I think it's, there are more, the place with the most ideas is the graveyard. Because everybody, so many people take their ideas to the
Okay.
grave
That's kind of
because
crazy.
they never put them out into the world.
That is crazy.
I think that's the quote. I'm not sure if that's like verbatim, word for word, what it is,
Mhm.
but the idea is simply that so many people take their gifts, their dreams, their ideas with them because they're too afraid to
act
take
on
a
them.
step. And this is something that I really loved. It was a movie that I watched literally today, and I perfectly reflected on what we're talking about today. And I suggest that all of you go out there and watch it. It's called Good Will Hunting, and I'm sure that many people have probably heard of it or already watched it. It's a phenomenal movie. And in this story, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, but the main character's got a gift, and he's too afraid to take a step. And you know what? I'll even connect it back to a bigger movie that I'm sure that everybody's watched, is Shrek.
What?
Yeah, crazy connection here. But in Shrek, one thing about Shrek is he doesn't make friends, right? He stays in his swamp and he tells everybody to go away. Why is that?
I
Have
don't
you ever
know.
thought?
No idea.
The reason why Shrek chases everybody else away is so that they don't ever get the chance to leave him. And that's a problem that a lot of people face, is that they're too scared to get into something because they're scared of what's going to happen down the line. But the truth is, it's something that you said. The future doesn't exist. So why are you so concerned with what's going to happen, man?
Damn.
Take the step. Because you never know what the future might hold. So why not move forward? Why not explore that darkness and see what might be in there?
You know, this is a very good quote, and honestly, I would have liked to use it on a future episode, but I think this is the perfect moment for it. And the quote goes like this: Man often encounters his destiny on the path he takes to avoid it.
Yeah.
I don't know
Wait,
who said that, actually.
I know it. It's Uguay.
Oh, yeah, it is
It is
Uruguay.
Uguay,
Yeah. So the truth is, as you continue to run away from these things, you're just going to...
Run into more inevitable realities.
Exactly. And also, if there's a cave, right? Let's say there's a cave with all the gold, the treasure, whatever you could have wanted in this lifetime. Obviously, there's going to be a dragon in front of it. Why? Well, a dragon's going to protect something.
Yeah.
So maybe what you fear has the key to everything you want in this life. Think about it. Why are you afraid? You're afraid because it's a daunting task. But the most daunting tasks yield the most plentiful rewards. At the end of the day, if you weren't afraid to run into that cave with the dragon, clearly there's not enough gold in there.
You know what's interesting? Because I'd say it's the same thing with every final boss ever. Why is it that the final boss is so difficult? Because it signifies the most important achievement of all. Same thing, for example, Minecraft, man. You got to beat the Ender Dragon to be able to get the Elytra. Never going to be able to spread your wings and fly if you don't beat the thing that's guarding you.
Very true.
I know that this seems like a bit of a kiddish analogy, I guess. To the adults out there that might be listening, the fears in your life only have control over you if you let them. Instead, if you take the steps to fight it and just not be afraid of it, what's the worst that's going to happen? You're going to move forward? You're going to get better? You're going to deal with the problems that you have? Because you can't spend eternity running from them. Because
Sure.
eventually, those problems will catch up to you.
Yeah, I mean, it's that same story of a cow versus a bull in a thunderstorm.
Oh, yeah.
I've told you this one, but I don't know if all of you know this. And I don't know if this is scientifically accurate, but I'll say it for the sake of the analogy. When cows see a thunderstorm coming, they run in the opposite direction. But what happens? As the cows run away from the thunderstorm catches up to them, and now it's traveling with them. So they get rained on for many, many days. But a bull, when a bull sees a thunderstorm, it runs towards it. Why? Because the thunderstorm's going this way, the bull's going this way. and it crosses way faster. So the bull understands that to face its fears, to run through the thunderstorm, is what allows him to emerge the other side quicker, faster, and better. But a cow runs away in fear. That's why they call it a coward.
Oh, what the? I don't remember that part. You never told me that.
I came up with that just now.
Actually?
I swear to God, I just came up
Wait,
with that.
that's crazy.
That is kind of
That
crazy.
was brilliant, dude. You gotta coin that. We gotta copyright that right now. Copyright strike.
You saw that.
At this moment, we copyright that phrase.
That's why you call it a coward. There
That
you go.
was brilliant, man. You just came up with that.
I
That's
swear,
crazy.
I swear, I just came up with that. That
is
just came to
wild.
mind.
Because I've heard that analogy before. I never
Yeah.
heard that anyway.
I've heard that analogy too. And then at the moment, I was like, damn, a coward. That's the perfect word. So yeah, at the end of the day, my question to you is, are you going to run from your problems or are you going to face them?
It's the same thing with, like, for example, a relatable analogy is you got a test at the end of the week. A lot of people will spend days just stressing, like, dude, I got this test. I'm so freaked out. I'm going to do terrible. I'm going to fail. And does that make the test go away?
No.
Does
Not at all.
freaking out about the fact that that test is at the end of the week make it go away? Is that test going to one day just be like, you know what? That was a terrible snap. I'm sorry. But that was better. It's not just going to disappear like that, is it? No. Because it's an inevitable reality. It's going to be there. So instead of running from it, run towards it. Work towards making it easier for yourself. It's the same thing with, in the end, for example, when you get old, you're probably going to suffer with a lot of health problems. That's an inevitable reality. But the people that took care of themselves while they were young, they're going to have a far better time when they're older because they chose to take that step earlier. Inevitable reality is we get old. The question is, what are you going to do about it now?
You know the very interesting energy that you gave off when you said run towards the test? I thought about it this way. Adrenaline. When do you feel adrenaline? You feel adrenaline when you're happy, number one, and number two,
When you're scared.
when you're scared. Why is that? Because it's the same thing. When you're afraid of something, it means that there's something big in front of you. So now you have that adrenaline pumping. You just have to run towards that goal. And when you think about it that way of running towards the test, my mind pictures it as a journey towards success, less of an inevitable defeat.
Yeah.
More of a, I can work towards winning this battle against this test rather than this test is going to crush me in the next 3 days. Right? And when you think about it that way, now every day, you almost feel good about studying. You feel happy to study. Maybe it's not the most enjoyable experience, but if you think about a test as something that you're going to defeat, then you can train hard enough to get there.
I'd say this loops back to the greatest problem, one of the greatest problems in today's society, which is instant gratification. And something that everybody seeks. Everybody's talking about it. If you haven't heard about it, you're probably old.
Damn,
and
okay.
You just haven't been around on the internet. But it's basically where you're seeking to do things that are instantly going to make you happy. And hence the name instant gratification. But what people refuse to seek is long-term gratification, which is the far harder thing because you're not rewarded right now. That's why, for example, when working out, you'll hit the gym for maybe a week, maybe even a month, maybe even a year, and maybe you don't see the craziest results. But does that mean you quit? Because guess what, man? That next year, you could look like you could be crazy ripped out, but you wouldn't know because you gave up.
Exactly. And that's one big reason why people quit on a New Year's resolution. You know, in the gym community, there's a funny joke that gym owners become rich on January 1st because everybody says New Year, new me. They go to the gym for 4 days and then they stop. Why is that? Because they don't see results. They don't see that immediate, instant gratification, like you said. But that's the thing about the gym. Even from my first year of working out, I didn't see that many results. But the truth is, when I saw any result at all, I felt really good, right? And also, it's a good analogy that I've said many times before, but I don't think I've mentioned on the podcast before. Think about if you took an ice cube, okay, and you let it sit on a table in a room temperature room, okay? The ice cube won't melt, right? Why? If the room temperature is down at 0 degrees, okay, or lower, let's set it at -10. As you continue to increase the thermostat, +1, +1, +1, okay, let's say it's at -7. Ice cube still frozen, no difference. +1, +1, +1, -4. Still no difference. Now you keep turning that thermostat. What happens when you pass 0? When you get +1 finally, and now you're at 1 degree Celsius?
Starts to melt.
The ice cube starts melting. So it's the same thing with success. You won't see results immediately. You won't see results for a long time even. But then success happens all at once. It's all those piled up efforts that eventually shoot you into the stratosphere of success, right? That ice cube didn't melt the first 10 degrees that you changed it, but that 1 degree over 0, that's what caused the ice cube to melt.
Exactly.
So it's the same thing with the gym, with success in general. You're going to consistently put in effort and not see anything. And it's something that David Goggins said. When the distance is unknown, are you still willing to sprint?
You know, that's crazy. I was going to actually reference David Goggins in my next point that I wanted to talk about. And that's that when you go and you pass away, I believe that you're going to get a reflection of your life. Whether that be the cliche life flashing before my eyes, or it be that you get a little reflection on your life. I believe that you will see what you accomplished in your lifetime. And the truth is, do you really want to be proud of who you are when you go? Or who you were, I guess. And one thing David Goggins talks about, he says it on, I believe it's on Joe Rogan's podcast, he says, one of my biggest fears is that when I die and I go up there, maybe you believe in God or not, there's somebody up there. And they show you this panel, and it has all your accomplishments listed. Do you want to go up there and say to that guy, hey, that's not who I am. That's not who I was. And then that guy repeats to you and says, no, that's who you should have been.
Damn.
I believe you should be terrified to not live up to your true potential. Because you got a gift. A lot of people will refuse to believe this and think that I'm a normal person. There are no normal people.
I was going to say that, yeah.
There's not a single person on this earth is normal. We make the joke that people are NPCs. But the funny part is that the NPCs are the most interesting people on the planet. Because they act in a way that nobody really does. Like, for example, in school, you'll see this, maybe like a weird kid. And you might call him an NPC. But in reality, there's not a lot of people acting like that kid. He might act goofy. That's why you consider him weird. That's why when people would say, oh, kids call me weird. Who the hell said being weird was a bad thing? You're unique. You're your own person. Why are you trying to be like everybody else? You have a unique gift.
As a wise man once said, why are you trying to fit in when you were born to stand out? So I think that just like you said, everybody does have a gift. Everybody has potential to be great. But as you continue to try to fit in with other people, that's when you lose it.
Damn, I'm about to throw down one of the best stories ever.
Let's hear it.
So one day, I'll reference where I heard the story from after. But one day there's this farmer. And he's walking down a path. And he sees on the floor, he sees this egg. Now he's a chicken farmer. Picks up this egg and he goes, this is a big egg. This is not a chicken egg. He has no idea what it is, but he brings it back to the coop, places it down, and he nurtures it. And he eventually hatches. And out pops a baby eagle. Now the farmer, he doesn't know how to raise an eagle. So he decides, you know what, I'm just going to raise it like all the other chickens. So the eagle learns how to, poke his head in the dirt and pick out worms. And, he just does what every other chicken does. Grows up with the chickens. And then one day, he's going about his business, acting like a chicken. When he looks up and he sees this massive, majestic bird flying over. Huge wingspan, golden beak. And he asks his chicken friends, he's like, whoa, what's that? And then they say, oh, that's the eagle. King of the skies. You'll never be him. Don't worry. Us chickens, we can't get up there. We can only fly a few feet off the ground, right? We'll never be up there where that eagle is. So don't even think about it. So the eagle goes about his whole life living like a chicken, even though he was born an eagle. Because that's what he was taught to do.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
And this is where I heard the story was from Prince EA.
Yep.
Posted a video on it. And again, urge you all to check it out. I think he does a much more in-depth explanation of the story. And truthfully, you have so much potential. But stop listening to the people around you that are telling you that you don't.
And speaking about other people, I think that's another important topic of conversation when it comes to the new year. I think that as you wipe the slate clean for this year, right? as you say, hey, now it's time to buckle down and start writing my new page in this book of life. One thing I'll say is forget about past resentments. Forget about past issues with people. Let that go. And that's definitely one of the future topics I wanted to discuss with you. But in terms of the past, yeah, people may have wronged you in the past, but just like how you're growing to become a new person this year, so are they. They have new goals. Maybe they want to be a better person, a kinder person, a nicer person to all the people around them. So letting go of your beef with other people is very important moving forward. Because if you hold on to those weights from the last year or the year before that of, oh, this person did me wrong, so I'm not going to be friends with them, I'm not going to talk to them. Well, now you're carrying around more weight and it becomes harder to move, right? You become weighed down. And that's something you should try your best to avoid in the new year. Try to make new connections, make room for new people, right? And the concept of new is very important for a new year, hence why it's in the name, right? What exactly does new mean? There's an opportunity for new things. New things meaning undiscovered things.
Okay.
Things you've never
I was
seen
gonna
before.
say you're giving like a circular definition.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't worry.
that was
Things that you've never seen before,
Mhm.
right? Something you haven't experienced before. So that also applies to the things you do in your day-to-day life. Maybe try something new, right? If you don't go to the gym, go to the gym. If you don't take walks in nature, maybe try that. If you don't meditate, give it a shot. Maybe it'll help you clear your mind.
And don't have the preconceived notion about something and assume that you don't want to do it because of that. Like, for example, people will say that, oh, this is cringe. Why would you do that? Everybody says they're going to go to the gym, but then they don't, so don't do it. That's stupid. Why don't you come up with your own resolution and I'd say your own goal is a
There you go.
better term for it, and just take your own steps to do it. Like, there's millions of people out there that'll tell you how to do everything in your life. But is that really how you want to do it? Find the way that you want to do it. That's the most important thing.
Very true. Very true. You don't have to do it the way that other people are telling you to do it, right? And at the end of the day, that's the same thing with this podcast. We might be saying, do these things, but you're free not to listen to us if you don't want to.
Exactly.
Right? That's what we'll always say is don't blindly accept what I say is true. Go out there, test it, give it a shot, try something new, then come back and tell me.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
Experiment. Don't discard things. Don't dismiss it immediately. Don't look at it and just be like, okay, you know what? No way. Give it a chance. Because if you don't give it a chance, you never know.
Now,
You never
again,
know what could've
that's not for all things, I'll say.
Okay. Again, I'll say this, that a lot of the times when we use an analogy, it could be applied in the reverse way very easily.
True.
So I'd say, if you're listening to this, use your logic. Just think with your brain. Okay, when he says, don't quit on your goals, of course that means don't. Of course, we're not talking about gambling, for example. We're not going to say, hey, you know what? You're at the table. You're on a streak right now. Don't give up. Like, that's stupid. Of course, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So I'd say, when you listen to us, use some logic, extrapolate a little bit, and just think, okay, clearly they're talking about self-improvement. So obviously that's what they mean.
Maybe not just when you listen to us, when you listen to anything, right?
Yeah.
In life and especially on social media, you'll see all these messages. If you just look at it with the face value and say, oh, this guy's saying, do it to the best of your ability. Okay, I'm going to go do drugs until I die.
Yeah.
That doesn't make any sense, man. Use your head, okay? That's what I hate the most about comments is a lot of people just put dumb stuff in the
Yeah,
comments.
because again, I'd say that this is something very important for everybody is that it's not so much what you say, how you say it, and what you mean by it. Like, you could take the words I'm saying right now, and you could probably twist it some way to make it sound like I'm saying something horrible. But if you just take it in the context, man, I was just making a statement on a self-improvement podcast.
Exactly.
Of course,
yeah.
I'm not talking about something stupid or something bad for you. You just got to think about the context. It's that
True.
simple.
Very true. But at the end of the day, like I said, make room for new. Because I think that it's something you said on a previous episode is that we're so stuck in our ways that we don't do new things. But you'll never know what you'll discover if you don't try something new. And think about it. I'm not one to typically go out and party or anything like that. But this New Year's, I was given the opportunity because our family was kind of off in different directions doing different things. So we weren't all together going to the same place. So what did I do? I went and did my own thing with some friends. And then what? I met new people, learned new stories, like Christian's story that I talked about earlier today, right? And I learned stories about many other people. I never would have learned those things if I didn't go out and try something new, So the rest of this year, make it your goal to do new things, to try undiscovered pathways in life, because you never know. Maybe you'll find one that you love.
You know, I want to say that this is something that I think we should talk about maybe as a main topic on the next episode. But you talked about, forgiving people and moving past the grudges and the weights and everything. And one story that always gets me, no matter how many times I watch these movies, is the story of Uncle Ben. And how the only reason he died is because Peter was angry at him. He ran out of the house. Uncle Ben chased after him, and he ended up getting shot. And it's such a sad story because if Peter didn't do what he did, then if he had let go of the grudge, if he wasn't so angry, if he wasn't so blinded by his emotions, then he never would have lost the person he loved most. And you never know that in your day-to-day life, you being angry at someone, that could take their life. And I know for a fact that there is not a single person on this earth that would ever want that on their conscience. Because that's something that would almost never go away.
It's a mark that doesn't fade. It's a scar. Like
Exactly.
you said, it may be there, and yeah, you'll be able to move on one day, but it doesn't change the fact that it's there. You know? Damn, that's actually a very good analogy. I didn't think about it. But yes, next week's episode is going to be, this is kind of a sneak peek for all you people who watched all the way to the end. But next week's episode, I already know the title for it too. You Have No Enemies.
Ah, well.
There you go. Come
It's
full circle.
Yeah, come full circle. And it's for those of you that know the song that we play, our intro song, it is the You Have No Enemies theme. It's not what it's actually called, but
It's just a reference to pop culture and how we have branded this new identity of people talking about how you have no enemies. This is a bit of a tangent, but I guess it's something that we'll get into just very briefly before we end the episode here.
yeah, it's just a sneak peek into the next episode. of what we're
Exactly.
gonna talk
But
about.
interestingly enough, it's that idea of you have no enemies and that show, which I'm going to talk about next week. If you know, you know. But that show and that idea of me having no enemies completely changed my life. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I started this podcast, right? Let go of previous resentment. Let go of these issues. You're having an existential revelation.
I just had an absolute epiphany.
Okay, let's hear it.
And for those of you that know Avatar very well, you'll remember the beach episode where Zuko and his Fire Nation friends go to the beach, and then they have this conversation on the beach. And Zuko has gotten everything he wants. This is after he comes back, and everybody thinks that he killed the Avatar. So he has all the glory in the world that he could ever want. And everybody sees him as a hero. But he keeps saying, I'm still angry. I'm still angry. And then everybody on the beach is like, who are you angry at? And he continues. He's just like, I don't know. And then they're like, is it this person? Is it this person? They continue pressing him until he finally exposes and he says, I'm angry at myself. And the only time that he moved past is when he chose to forgive himself for the mistakes that he made. And the same way, a lot of people nowadays will look at their own life and be like, man, I am such a screw up. I've screwed my entire life up. This is all my fault. That's true. But when are you going to forgive yourself? A lot of people find it easier to forgive the people around them. That they'll say, you know what, it's okay that that person did that. Why don't you take the time to forgive yourself for what happened in your life, for the things you've done to yourself? Let go and move on.
With that, we draw this episode to a conclusion. That was beautiful. I actually really, really love that episode too. I forgot what that episode is called.
It's literally called The Beach, I'm pretty sure.
Really?
And 99% sure.
Nah,
Continue the outro, I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Well, anyways, as we draw this episode to a conclusion, remember, let go of past resentment. Move forward into 2024 with a new lens. All right? And remember that while the slate may be clean for this year, it doesn't mean that everything you did in past years is forgotten. All right? All the progress you made, all the mistakes you made, and all the successes you've had, you still have them in previous pages. All right? So don't be afraid to look back, reflect, and move forward. So let's start 2024 off well, and let's change our life this year. But with that, quickly, I'll say the quote of the day and...
Quote of the week.
Oh, yeah, quote of the week, yes. You said you were looking something up, weren't you?
Oh, yeah. So the episode is called The Beach. I was right. On the money.
Of course, you are on the money, as you always are. Anyways,
When it comes to Avatar, at least. But yeah.
sir, it is time for...
Quote.
Of
The.
week. Why did you pause there?
I don't know. It sounded odd. I swear I usually say quote. Wait, I did say quote. I don't know. I'm tripping.
Yeah,
All right,
okay,
let's
he
move
is
past.
tripping,
All
he
right,
is
we're
tripping.
moving to the quote.
Anyways, the quote goes like this: "As long as you're alive, there is always a chance to start again." And that's by Emily Aker. I don't really know who this is. I looked her up to try and see what she did notably, but didn't really find anything.
Bam. Bro's
But-
throwing shade at this person.
Hey, no, it's not shade. I'm just giving credit where credit is due. I mean, she said it. That's all I'm saying. But remember, like I said, the new year brings a new opportunity. It doesn't mean that everything you did before is forgotten. But remember, as long as you're alive, there's always a chance to start again. So take this opportunity to start again and make something great.
And don't forget, make sure you live a positive life, y'all. Peace out.